Bonjour tout le monde. Aujourd'hui, c'est jeudi le 1er septembre. So with our dates, usually we just say le 2, le 3, which in English would be like the 2, the 3, as opposed to the 2nd, the 3rd, which we typically do in English. But for the first day of the month in French, we say le 1er. So we do say the first as opposed to the 1. That's the only exception. After le 1er, it's just le 2, le 3. So in English, it would be like the first, the 2, the 3, the 4, etc. So aujourd'hui, c'est le 1er septembre. Et le mot de passe, au revoir. TPR, you can practice on slide 7. So those two things and also a couple little questions need to go into the flip grid from yesterday. So if you've not completed that yet, make sure you do so. It's in yesterday's folder, the assignment is. Excuse me. So we have aujourd'hui dans l'histoire, this day in history, aujourd'hui dans l'histoire et une discussion aujourd'hui. You're going to quickly review introducing yourself and others. That kind of comes into play in your flip grid as well, or came into play if you've done it already. And then we are going to begin Histoire numéro 1, Branche ou Crocodile, which I will sometimes also refer to as the wildebeest story. So I'll talk about that and be a little more explicit about what you need to complete today and tomorrow. Ok, aujourd'hui dans l'histoire. Aujourd'hui, c'est jeudi le 1er septembre, l'anniversaire de Gaël, mon fils. Okay, l'anniversaire. We're going to see a number of these on our aujourd'hui dans l'histoire slides. These are not anniversaries of people's marriages, as we typically consider the word anniversary to be in English. Anniversaire is the anniversary of a person's birth or their birthday. So, l'anniversaire de Gaël, mon fils, it is Gaël, mon fils' birthday. You are also going to notice that there is no apostrophe S in French. So what I just said, Gaël, mon fils', is maybe what we would say in English, but here we have to literally say the birthday of Gaël, mon fils, l'anniversaire de Gaël, mon fils. Gaël, mon fils est un joueur de tennis professionnel. Un joueur. Jouer au tennis, to play tennis. So, un joueur de tennis, a tennis player. En 2016 et 2019, il était dans le top 10 mondial. Mondial, in the whole world. Mondial. Son père, son papa, vient de Guadeloupe et sa mère, sa maman, vient de Martinique. Son père, he could also say son papa, so his dad. Sa mère, his mother or mom. You could also say sa maman. Vient de, they come from these different places. Guadeloupe et Martinique are both islands in the Caribbean that are French-speaking. Donc, so, Gaël parle français et créole. Creole is a mixture of French and Spanish and English and some indigenous languages that make up the languages that are typically spoken on the islands of Martinique et Guadeloupe when French is not being used. Sa femme s'appelle Elina. Elle est aussi une joueuse de tennis professionnelle. Sa femme. Femme, en anglais, say woman. Looks kind of like feminine. But it also can mean wife. So it's not his woman, but in this case, his wife. Sa femme s'appelle Elina. Elle est aussi, also, une joueuse de tennis professionnelle. Okay, donc, so we have two different questions to answer here. What does Gaël Monfils do as a profession, and what sentence on this slide tells us that his wife's name? I want you to actually show me the sentence that tells us his wife's name. That's actually kind of a nice little segue to our next slide. So we remember, hopefully, because you did this in the Flipgrid or when you were in our meet, je m'appelle. So the question, comment tu t'appelles? Je m'appelle Madame Michon. Je m'appelle Suzanne. Je m'appelle Sarah, etc. My name is. Comment tu t'appelles? What is your name? But when we haven't talked about quite as much is, which we saw on the slide just now, elle s'appelle, il s'appelle. His name is, her name is. Il s'appelle, elle s'appelle. And actually, one thing that I have not talked about yet is that there is also a neutral pronoun in French. And that neutral pronoun is yel. Yel. Yel s'appelle would be kind of like saying their name is in English. They as in neutral, not plural. So, il s'appelle, his name is. Elle s'appelle, her name is. Yel s'appelle, their name is. So, when you're talking about somebody else, those are going to come into play. Okay. So this is the big thing this week, really, but also today. You're going to be watching this story. I'm going to tell the story with some slides in the background, and you're going to be, if you are willing to, interacting with it, answering questions, thinking about what I'm saying, etc. And then if you want to look at the slides that I have behind me in this presentation, they're linked right here. And then on the next slide, you see what we call a write and discuss. Typically, I would be talking with you as I write this and asking you questions. That's why it's called a write and discuss. For this one, you're just going to write down what I've already written down. Il y a deux animaux qui regardent un objet mystérieux. Il s'appelle Mario. Elle s'appelle Princess Peach. Deux animaux, we're going to assume one is male and one is female. Il s'appelle Mario. Elle s'appelle Princess Peach. Elle dit, il y a un crocodile. Mais il dit, il y a une branche. Mario regarde l'objet. Peach regarde sérieusement l'objet. Peach touche l'objet. Mario ne touche pas l'objet. En réalité, il y a un crocodile. So, we can understand pretty much all of this by words that we've learned, like il y a, and also words that we can figure out from English, like regarde or touche. And actually, I meant to do this. Whenever we have numbers, I'm going to show you how they're written out, but I'm not expecting you to know that for the future. I'm not going to quiz you on it or anything, but I do want you to get started understanding the numbers and looking at how they're spelled when we use them, just so that in the future you'll be able to recognize those numbers when they're spelled out. So, il y a deux animaux, deux animaux. Okay, so you're going to copy this down as the instructions say up here. You're going to copy it into the back of your cahier. You know, you wrote the heading Stories Personne Spéciale there, and skip every other line, because what we're going to do next week is you are going to be translating the story. Okay, and you're going to translate with every other line. So keep every other line blank so that we can do that. So this story might seem a little bit funny when you just see it in screenshots and in a slideshow. So it is based on an actual short film that's kind of funny and clever. So if you want to access that, you can just click here to see that. Okay, and that is it for aujourd'hui. Demain, tomorrow, we do have a quiz coming up. This is what that quiz will look like. You'll have this in the background, so you will have access to this writing, and I will be asking or making true or false statements about it. So, example, I might say, il y a deux animaux. Il y a deux animaux. And you would say, vrai, that is a true statement. But what if I said, il y a trois animaux? Il y a trois animaux. I won't actually do that on the quiz because you haven't officially learned numbers yet. But il y a 3 animaux, that would be faux, a false statement, because we know il y a 2 animaux. Okay, so that is what your quiz is going to look like. It's a listening quiz. So you'll be watching a video of me and listening. This will be in the background of that video, and you'll be checking off vrai ou faux for each of those statements. If you have any questions, as always, I will be on Michon French Online on Google Meet from 11:30 to 12. And that's today. I won't be tomorrow, but as always, just shoot me an email or ask me if we can do a Google Meet at another time and we can figure something out. Au revoir tout le monde!